People that don't know Strathmore, well, you got to come over here and see what it's like. It's quiet. Everybody sort of says hello.
People are friendly. What else can we say?
Gritty, beautiful.
Interesting. I think it's a very interesting place. Feels like home. Sometimes it feels like the Bronx as well.
And sometimes you have to look really, really closely or just still yourself and not see broken buildings, broken people, but see the beauty in those people. That's what I see in Daryl.
So they know my secret knock, so... Well, now that you've said it, that I'm rat man, it does feel good because like doing this has sort of brought me out of being a recluse. But I'd still prefer to be a recluse. But it's not going to happen anymore because everywhere I go now, it's sort of, there's the rat man, or Daryl, or hey bro. And so that's sort of what I've got to put up with now, after being the rat man. You sure? I might break it.
No, you won't. It's heavy, it is.
Yeah.
I'll hold it for you.
Oh no, it'll work. Oh yeah. Can I get you to hold that, Joe? Is it me or is there something in there?
Yeah.
Yeah, there, because I can smell it.
Yep.
Yep.
Why you want to be in the movies? Kia ora, I'm Jo, and I've lived here for 8 years now, and I met Daryl, the rat man, 8 years ago with his wife, his partner Carol, and their children.
There is something here, what's left of it.
I met them just from walking up the street and getting to know them, and the community centre was a big part of it.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I always come down here a lot at the hall, and it's like home away from home, being down here. Coming down here, meeting new friends and having coffee, and then they'll ask me how me and Daryl getting on, and I said, oh yeah, it's all right, things are good.
No, get.
Dad. Good boy.
Supposed to have gloves on, but I find it awkward with the gloves I've got anyway. You're stuck to it. There you go. We did have rat problems in our house. Like we could be asleep at night and then we'd hear it just run past the bed or run past the mattresses, run along the fireplace.
Because there was always mice, or you could see eyes glaring at you in the boiler cupboard.
And it was just so bad, like our cupboards and everything as well. You had rat shit, mice shit all over the place.
The rat problem, a lot of people have it, because I say the whole of Miramar Peninsula might have it.
Put them back up.
I'd hear them at night. It's been going on for a long time, and they'd crawl in the roof and the walls, jumping off the trees.
All the houses are connected as well, so they kind of run along everywhere.
I know the size of one. Just was about that big. It was like a full-on patch member.
I did ask Housing New Zealand to help, but we had to pay for it and we couldn't afford it. So I had to find an alternative way, which was through Miramar Predator Free.
And our whole kaupapa is that we provide free traps to householders to trap rats in their own backyards. And generally, every household has one trap each. Daryl got in touch with us because he had rats in the ceiling and he couldn't sleep at night and he wanted them gone. So I gave him a couple of traps, and in 2 weeks he'd killed 21 rats in his house, and he was happy because he could sleep again.
That was the first day I'd ever set it up, put it in a boiler cupboard.
He just goes to sit down and next minute, snack, he's got one.
That just lets me know that it's still working. then just rebaiting it.
His neighbours started getting in touch and saying, Daryl, could you help us kill the rats in our house? So I gave him a couple more traps. And now we've basically subcontracted Daryl to kill the rats in Strathmore. He's got 10 traps and he's moving them around the suburb from house to house like the Pied Piper and killing rats for anyone that needs help.
I don't know how many he's caught, but he's caught a lot.
I think he's caught about 4 or 5.
Probably about 50.
Maybe 300.
To me, it's 318.
Best guess, I think Daryl has accounted for 228.
500, be maybe 450, between 400 and 500.
And he kind of pops up out of nowhere with texts to us out of the blue, giving us the latest stats on how many rats he's killed, and then he disappears for a few weeks. Daryl operates on Daryl's time.
A lot of the times I'd use a spoon because I thought it had poison in it, but it's just normal peanut butter, just crunched up. I like to sort of keep myself busy. I've had people try to pay me for doing it, but I don't want to take from people that need the money just as much as I do. There's a couple of people that used to come here down to the hall, but because they were struggling and all that, there was arguments at home, and now a couple of those people are locked up. That's because of the stress of not having the money to support their family, which I'm quite surprised I haven't committed another crime since. Hi, Kenny.
Hey, Daryl.
Got some more dead rats for you, or got a lot?
Yeah, I know Daryl. I've known him for a number of years.
Yeah, I've caught a couple like that over this way.
Wow. Daryl has been trapping in Strathmore for some time now, and I've learned taxidermy, so I get to have all of his rats. Oh, wow. They'll be fantastic.
Yeah, I've caught a couple like that over this way.
What do you reckon? A pair of gloves?
Yeah.
So these are the other ones that you brought in. There was a time when I managed the community centre here in Strathmore. Daryl back then, and it might have been 5 or 6 years ago, sometimes had some behaviours that were hard to love. There was a kind of an extraordinary guy wanting to get out, but he was fairly lost in some of his addictions and some of his behaviours. That's where I first came to meet Daryl.
Before doing the trip, I knew people. They knew who I was, but they would have known me. Oh yeah, there he goes. That's old pisshead or whatever it is, alcoholic and all that. Joe, tell him like when I was a pisshead, Joe, I'd wobble up the road.
When I first met Daryl, and I liked Daryl, but he used to drink sometimes, and a lot actually. He used to get quite drunk, but he used to forget where he was sometimes when he used to drink. Drinking things funny. I used to drink too, but I don't drink much now, hardly ever. A lot of people drink around here. But I guess that's maybe because they're unhappy. I don't know.
Over the last 12 years, it sort of just got worse and worse because I couldn't find work and I was bored and everything, and we didn't have money. My partner Caroline did have breast cancer.
It was horrible because I was lopsided, to tell the truth. Really horrible. And I just almost cried because they took the left one off, and then Daryl said to the doctor, Caroline wants a new breast, and she said, no, it's too dangerous because she suffers with asthma, and if we had to knock her out for 5 hours, she won't wake up.
I'd lost my father to cancer, I'd lost my mother to cancer, and then finding out Caroline had cancer as well. I think the drink, I turned to the drink just to blank that all out.
And I think Daryl had been drinking, and he ended up making them cry and saying that I might not make it through. And I said, I'll be still here.
And it wasn't until we actually moved from Tannadice Street to where we are now, and I saw all the rubbish under the house, and there must have been about couple of hundred rubbish bags, and they were all full of just cans and bottles. And that was basically all mine. I was even too lazy just to put the rubbish out. Because of my drinking, it just took over my life. I became alcohol. Alcohol became me. And that's when I flew off my handle and ended up inside, in prison. Because I almost killed my partner, Caroline, and my kids.
He headbutted me, made my nose bleed, and kicked the bathroom door open while I was in there. I went to my neighbours because he wouldn't let me use my phone to ring the cops. And I said, I don't want to go home, I'm too scared of Daryl. And then he ended up in prison.
Up until then, people would tell me to stop drinking and all that, or I need to go to rehab, or I need to do this, but it wasn't until I actually went to prison, started doing sort of counselling sessions and that in there, and it was a group thing with all the other inmates and that, and then you sort of have to sit around and listen to their stories and that, and then I was listening, sitting there thinking, I don't need this because I've already done all that sort of thing on the outside. But then it's the same stories over and over, and that was my story, and that was their story as well. And it wasn't until I started going to meeting after meeting inside that I realised, yep, I've got to change, or otherwise I'm going to be inside like a couple of these guys were staying in there for the rest of their life because of what I did. They'd actually taken that step further, and that could have been me. And that's when I realised I had a drinking problem, and I had to sort that out.
He said he would change while he was inside. He was ringing me. And I said to him, will you stay off the alcohol? If you don't, I don't want you back.
I've been off alcohol now for 5 years, over 5.5 years.
I do not like the rats.
Well, it's not my problem. I like bringing it and scaring you with them. I like to show off my prize. I've got to show you something. Like I said, make a stew, get some gravy, mix it all up, put some mixed veggies, and nobody will know the difference. I did that with, Huya.
Yeah.
He was cooking his meal and I brought it in and, hey son, add that to you, and he went running to the wall. Caroline and the kids mean the world to me. It's like, I'm lost without them, not them lost without me, because they survived quite well without me, but they mean the world to me. And like now I've got a son that's sort of following my footsteps, and it's just bad because he's seen what I've done growing up, and it was sort of already ingrained in him. Dad did this, Dad did that, but I've got a chance still to try help him, but with the other two and Caroline, I've proved to them, and I only do it day by day, that you don't need drink to have a good time and enjoy being with your partner and your kids.
Now that he's doing all this, catching the rats and that, he's totally changed. He spends time in the hall with all of us and starts yakking.
I've opened up a little bit. I don't like it, but because I like to keep to myself, but hey, if you're working with the community, you've got to open up a little bit.
Sometimes in areas where maybe there's a bit more lower social economic situations, it's really important to get the community to get together and just support each other. We're all on a journey, and I guess Daryl has really come a long way. I'm just really happy that his family's happier and he puts time into his kids and stuff. It's really good. And I think this rat thing's really cool too, because he loves it. Yeah, he loves the rats. I mean, getting the rats, dealing with the rat problem.
I'm just putting one inside her boiler cupboard because rats in that at the moment, they like the warmth. So when they come in, they'll hopefully come down to the trap and then another one bites the dust. If that don't work, it goes to the attic. If that don't work, we go to the basement.
He's a good neighbour, what can I say? He's a very nice bloke.
Doesn't matter what the weather is. He's up here every day checking and making sure that our footy is vermin free. So yeah.
And he's helping the neighbourhood, and I think it's great.
Caring. He cares. Yeah.
He's good to me. Me and him get on like a house on fire now. And he's good with the kids.
I've had everybody say, you won't change, but I can be different to the Daryl or the dad they knew back then. What am I hopeful for the future? That my son turns his life around, my other two kids get good jobs and education, get money coming into my household, take my kids out, take Caroline out. I'd just like to get a chance to get another job. A lot of us aren't what our record says we are, and we need that chance just to prove ourselves.